Yeah. So last session we just discussed about some of the basics about Azure, and also we spoke about some of the introductory thing about Azure data engineering. Storage. Okay. So we'll continue with the storage today, and what we'll do is we'll open the portal and we'll try to create some of the accounts, and then we'll upload some files and download the files. We'll see that. Okay. And once we are done with that, then tomorrow what we'll do is we'll start a data factory, Azure data factory. Okay, some introduction and some basic copy activity where we copy the data from one file to another file, or one location to another location. So that we will do. So then eventually what we'll do is once we do some basic things in the Azure data factory, then we will shift to Azure SQL. Then Azure SQL, we will spend some time like 2 to 3 days, and we'll explore various things which are available in the Azure SQL. Okay. Then after that, again, we'll jump back to Azure Data Factory. Then whatever the related thing that we can work with the Azure SQL in the combination with Azure data storage, then we will create those scenarios, and we'll practice them. That's how we'll do. And over the weekend, some of you were asking about the session progress, like what are the content, actual content, or actual way that we are going forward. So already I reiterated the thing that so how the course would be. So the course would be, as I said, we will continue with the storage, data factory, then Azure SQL, then the Azure Databricks, then we will shift to Azure Synapse. Then we'll have a session on Cosmos DB, then Event Hub and Stream Analytics, then the storage and security, then monitoring. So whatever needed in the real-time point of view or exam point of view, we will cover all those related things. And every topic, it's not like official Microsoft training. We will go through the actual real-time scenarios with the detailed explanation. And apart from that, also I'm going to give you assignments based on my experience and my expertise. That's how the course content would be. It's not like only about the theory. For initial couple of days, you'll find the theory, of course, because we are just going through some of the basics and all. But going forward, it will be more of practical oriented only, and exam point of view as well. So there won't be any doubt in that, and you don't need to worry about the way we are going forward. Any doubts so far? Feel free to ask here. So I'll be happy to explain about those things if you have any doubts still.
So hi Purushottam, hi all.
Yeah,
Good
hi.
morning. So sorry to late joining.
No problem.
So what you covered? Anything you covered right now?
No, no, I did not cover. I was talking
Okay,
about the things like what we are going to do and how you are going to progress further.
okay.
So any doubts in the earlier session, like storage, whatever we covered about the basics? So we covered about storage deployment models. In the storage, we covered about the basics of storage types and advantages. Uh, then we have also we spoke about the access tiers. So we'll speak about that in detail today while going through creating those storage account. So I'll explain in parallel to like when we discuss about that. Okay. And Azure storage we discussed, and blob storage. Yeah. So as I said, under this, sorry. Yeah, storage we have like as I mentioned in the previous session, in the storage we have Azure blobs, Azure files, Azure queues, Azure tables, and Azure this. So we're going to talk about only Azure blobs in the entire session, because that is the main thing that we'll be using that. So Azure blob is the actual storage mechanism which is useful for storing text and binary data. So basically it's used for big data analytics in the form of data lake storage, because it has two things. One is the Azure blob storage, normal blob storage, and well as the data lake Gen 2 storage also. So when you there will be a what do you say, there will be a setting, okay, which turns Azure blob into a data lake storage. Okay, so that we will talk in detail when we go to the practical. So let's talk about the blob. So what is the blob and what is the blob types we have? Okay, so what is the blob? So Azure Blob Storage is an object storage solution for the cloud. It can store massive amount of data such as text or binary data. So blob is actually storage mechanism on the cloud. Okay, so on the cloud, if you want to store anything, okay, any data, uh, any text data or binary data, will use the blob storage. Okay, so if you talk about the blob storage, so in the high level we have account. Okay, so each account will have some containers. Okay, the containers will have the data. Blob is nothing but a data. A file is, any file is a blob. So JPG file is a blob. I'm when I say I'm uploading a blob file, so it's a blob. It's a file. It can be a image, it can be anything. Okay, so the hierarchy is like we have account, we have containers, we have the blobs. So we have blob storage is ideal for serving images or documents directly to a browser. Say suppose you are hosting an application and you have tons of images you need to handle. So what you can do, so you can store all those images in the blob storage and you can use them in your website directly to your browser, storing files for distributed access. Okay, so as I mentioned, say suppose you want to upload some of the files, so you want to share with your another dev group, okay, in another region, okay, or in another group. So what you do, you'll just upload the file. Say suppose you have invoice files in your organization, okay, and you want to share with your colleagues or your another group over the cloud. So what you'll do, you'll create a storage account, you'll create some containers, then you'll upload all the blobs, then you will share with those guys. Okay, streaming video audio, so also you can upload video and audio files, storing data for backup and restore, disaster recovery and archiving. Yes, so you can also store the data, backup and restore. Say suppose you have some data and you want to store the data for backup, so that you can store the backup data. Storing data for analysis by on-premises or Azure hosted services. So also you can store the data for analysis, so that whether on-premise can be used, can use that, or Azure hosted service also can use that. Storing of up to 8 terabytes of the data for virtual machines. So say suppose you want to store some data which can be used for virtual machines, that also you can use that in the blob storage. But based on the blob, so this is more of theoretical, but exam point of view also it will be useful. Just try to concentrate on some of the basics over here. Okay, so what are the blob types? So we have some of the blob types. We have like blobs, page blobs, or append blob. So block blobs are optimized for uploading large amount of data efficiently. Block blobs are composed of blocks, each of which is identified by a block ID. So usually they're in conventionally and traditionally in the from when you go for theoretical point of view, we have block blobs and page blobs. So in the block blob, what happens? All the data will be stored as a blocks, composed of blocks, and each block will have a block ID. Whereas page blobs, so what it have, it will have collection of 512 bytes of pages, so which is used for optimized for random read and write. So there will be efficiency in reading and writing, okay, when you use the page blobs, because page blobs will have a pages, and whereas block blobs will have a blocks, but page blobs will have more performance advantage over the block blobs. To create a page blob, initialize the page blob and specify the maximum size the page blob will grow. So then when you use the page blob, then usually you'll use the size and how much size you want to grow. An append blob. So composed of blocks and it's optimized for append operations. When you modify an append blob, blocks are added in end of the blob. Updating or deleting a VC blob is not supported. So we have also append block, which we might not use usually because it's only used for append operations. Whenever you upload any data, that will be added at the end of the blob. Okay. And when you go for the storage, apart from blob types, you have a drive types. Okay. Disk types. So we have storage allows you to have any data service and uses magnetic disk types. Okay. So we have standard based on the storage, we have two types of storages. So one is the standard and premium. So standard allows to have any data service, blob, file, queue, table. So it uses a magnetic disk drives, whereas premium uses a solid state devices. So when you use SSD storage, there will be quick, there will be a performance, there will be more performance compared to standard, but a premium usually costs more when you use a premium storage. So let's open this and let's talk about the blob storage, and we'll talk about the what is blob and why we are using the Azure Data Lake also. So let me open the one. Are you able to see my screen portal?
No, Ganesh.
Okay, so let me open that. Now are you able to see?
Yes.
Okay, so I have this two, I have this portal. Okay, so in portal you can see all the services, resources. This is Azure portal, which is provided by the Microsoft. So where you can create all your resources and you manage all the resources into the groups. Okay, you have some subscriptions and you can create your computations, everything you can do. So when you say here, so here you can see all the resources. When you say all the resources, you can see all the resources. You can see some favorites also. I added some of the favorites. So you can create whatever the resource you wanted to create. Okay, and based on my recent usages, it will have all the resources based on my recent usage. And I have so when you say here you have an account, so my account is this one. Okay, so my account is this one. So you can create an account, and usually when you create an account, okay, so you have says around how many dollars? $300, around 21,000 of free subscription you have. So for a month, trial period will be 1 month. Okay, but some services will be used, you can use even for a 1 year, but usually all the services like free trial you can use for a month. Okay, so and so whatever the subscription limit you have, whatever the cost limit you have, so based on that you can create your services. Okay, and that is the account. And subscription, so subscription basically used to tied up all your what do you say, all your whatever the accounting thing that you have. Okay, based to it is usually what it happens is it manages all your accounts based on the subscription. Also it ties all your resource a particular group. Okay, that is a subscription. Okay, under the subscription what you can do is you can create the resource groups. Under the resource groups you can create the resources. All right, so resource group, when I talk about resource group, basically resource group is nothing but it is a logical collection of the resources. Okay, we'll talk about why we use resource groups. And under the resource group you have resources. Okay, so we have subscriptions, resource groups and resources. And when you create first time, so there will be a free trial subscription you have. Okay, here I don't have free trial because it's no longer available for me. So when you create first time, you have a free trial subscription. Now I have a pay as you go subscription. Pay as you go in the sense, what is pay as you go? The name itself specifies. What is that?
So whatever you consume, you have to pay.
Yes, right, exactly. So you pay as per your usage. Okay. So I have also Visual Studio based on my, I have some personal subscription for Visual Studio. So for that also I have, when you say pay as you go subscription, pay as you go subscription, I can use the latest build amount invoice over time. Why it's not showing that? Let me show that. So I'm no longer using it because the build date got over. So I need to pay some amount. So that is the reason it's not showing anything. But when I show you that cost management and billing, where you can keep track of all your expenses. Okay. So here you can use everything. So pay as you go. Last bill amount is 0.05. Actually, it was 3,000 rupees. And if you see here, there was a free trial also earlier, which I was using, and it's disabled now because it exceeded 1 month and I consumed whatever it was there, everything I consumed that. So whenever you create a free trial subscription, you can keep track of your usage, your billing, you are using this cost management and billing. Okay, this is a very critical key part which used to manage your costing and billing. All right, and this is Visual Studio subscription, which 0. Okay, current cost is I don't have any cost, so I can use the cost. Whereas pay as you go also I have. Okay, so I can see invoices also. If you see here invoices, you can see that looks like my pay as you go is not showing the money. I wanted you to show the money which I paid. All right, that's fine. So you can see all the subscription, all the payment subscription methods. Okay.
You can click on the bell icon and the top notification icon.
This one.
Yeah, you click here.
Yeah, it shows the whatever the amount which I need to pay, but that you can find out over in the billing only. So somehow it's not showing that because I wanted to show you the 3,700 rupees breakup for which I used. So somehow it's not showing. That's fine. So these are the two things I have, and we have all resources. Okay, and the latest resources whatever I used, it shows over here. Okay, and say suppose our resource, let's talk about the resource group. What is the resource group? It's usually a collection of logical group of resources. Then why do I use resource groups? Okay, say suppose your environment in your on-premise environment. Okay, when you create an application initially, so what you do usually, you create some environments as well. Okay, you plan for some environments, saying that dev environment where you develop all your activity, then the test environment, okay, where you will you deploy your application to the testing team so that they will test that. Then apart from that, you might also have UAT, okay, user acceptance test, where you'll deploy the application so that UAT users, the actual users will test that. Then you have also production environment, right? So for that, what I can do, all the all the resources, whatever you are using into the dev environment, I can do into the dev resource group. Okay, then all the test, what I can do, the test resource group I can create, because why I'm going with that, because sometimes for the development I might need to use only with a less computation power or less storage capacity. But when you go for the production or U8, you might need to increase your storage or your computation power or your capacity, your resource capacity, right? And also it also need to have proper access control, right? Because for the dev resource group, you want to give access only to the few developers from your team. But when you go for UAT and production, you want to give access to only limited number of users, right? So for that also resource group are efficiently used. One is related to the grouping, logical grouping, so that all the resources you can use within your resource group, and based on your development environment, and this is your application environment, so you can control the access and control the cost also, right? And apart from that, this is about the environments. And in some organizations, maybe they want to segregate based on their department or usage. So whatever the resources they want to use under the payroll, so they will create all the resource for the payroll, and they will group into the payroll resource group. Say suppose you have HR resource group. So whatever the resources they want to use for HR department, they will put it into the HR resource group. Okay, it all depends upon the organization to organization, resource to resource. Okay, but here usually in the develop environment, what we do, we'll create a test environment and production environment. Okay, with the proper naming conventions based on the application. Then you will create the resource groups, and within the resource group, you will create the resources. So hope everybody has access to portal. So is there anyone who did not try it, like creating this account?
Yeah, I mean, Purushottam, as I already told you, like we already used our credit cards, so currently we don't have any portal account.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So is there anyone else who not yet used portal anytime, or who is new to portal? If anybody is new, I suggest you to go and create a portal over today, so that you will have some initial glance. Okay, and there are some sandbox environments. I'll give you the links. I lost those links actually. So when you go for Microsoft Learn, it will provide some sandbox links. Okay, that will be active for 2 hours, but that is limited, whatever limited to certain resources. Okay, with certain limitations. I'll provide that so you can practice on it. And creating resource group is nothing. So just I can create the resource group. Say suppose I have like Azure data engineering resource group, I'll create. Okay, so Azure data, and this is the region, which region you want to use. Okay, West Central, Pacific. So region is nothing but a geographical region where the Azure data centers are present, as I'm showing, right? So Asia, if you see here Asia, you have South India also, because in Hyderabad we have. So let me create in South India. Simple, there is nothing, there is no control anything, because it is only logical group. It's only logical group we have. Now let's see that Azure storage account, what a storage account talks about. So here what you can do, storage account. Okay, so do you have any storage account? I don't have any storage account. So I'll create a storage account over here. So I have different resource groups. I can create a new resource group. I don't have any resource group under that. So let me create a resource group.
Purushottam, there is a subscription, Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. Is it a portal that is default giving, or
no? I have some personal Visual Studio corporate subscription. Based on that, I got this. Actually.